My name is Clara Jensen. I am 29 years old and I live on the outskirts of Greenwood Ridge National Park. The sprawling wilderness is my playground, a sanctuary from the chaos of city life. I am not like other people who scramble for the paths where other hikers go. I seek the untamed parts of the forest, where the trees threaten to swallow you whole and the silence hums with a sense of ancient mystery. I have often relished in the depths of the woods, savoring the solitude, breathing in the crisp air that dances with pine and earth, and feeling every worry slip away. However, even I am not immune to the notion that something dark and terrible could lie in the heart of such beauty. This thought flickered in the back of my mind as I prepared for the long weekend hike. I set off, determined to tackle one of the more remote trails. I was resolute in my plan to hike in 6 miles, find a suitable camping spot, and revel in the wildness. However, as I made my way deeper into the trees, that quiet unease began to bubble beneath the surface, hinting at something I could not quite put my finger on. The hike down the wooded path began splendidly, with a crisp breeze and a spectacular blue sky. The sunlight streamed through the high branches, casting a warm glow upon the soft, leaf-laden ground. I listened to the comforting sounds of nature, the rustling leaves, the distant chirps of birds, my boots crunching over twigs and leaves. Every step took me deeper into a state of blissful solitude, a feeling I cherished. But after several hours of walking, fatigue crept into my bones, and I started to seek out a place to rest. The goal was no longer just to find a campsite. I was searching for that perfect spot, something that felt like it was made just for me. Then, as if fate had crafted a haven just for me, I stumbled upon it. It was a clearing like I had never seen before. It felt wrong in a way, but my excitement overshadowed my instincts. The ground was a vibrant green, more like an artificial lawn than forest floor, a perfect circle, around 40 feet wide, surrounded by towering trees that seemed to guard it. Their branches intertwined above, forming a natural dome that painted the area in shadows and light. I thought I had uncovered hidden treasure, a campsite curated by nature itself. I set down my heavy pack with a heart full of hope and began to make myself at home. The tent sprung up easily, the soft ground inviting my stakes to settle in. As I lit a small fire, I felt the warm glow wash over me, erasing the weariness of the trail. As twilight descended, I feasted on simple chili, allowing the warmth of the fire to wash over me while I watched the embers crackle against the night sky. Gradually, darkness enveloped the clearing, and the world transformed. The inviting woods of day shifted into a realm of creeping shadows, yet snug within my flickering circle of warmth, I felt secure. I slipped into my tent, zipping it closed, ready to surrender to sleep. But peace was a fleeting ghost. Just as I began to drift off, I felt it. A low, creeping sensation beneath me, as if something wriggled against my sleeping bag. I brushed it off as normal. Bugs are part of life in the woods, I reassured myself. I squeezed my eyes shut, willing back the rising tide of anxiety. However, the sensation intensified, like tiny fingers tapping under my skin. I told myself again that I was safe. Yet over the quiet whispers of the forest, strange noises began to echo outside my tent. First came a cracking twig, then rustling leaves, precise and measured, like footsteps circling me. My heart raced at every snap, my instincts clamoring that something was very wrong. I peeked through the thin fabric of my tent to see shadows flitting by, shapes that should not be there. I tried to convince myself it was merely the branches swaying in a breeze that didn't exist. But instead of comfort, dread suffocated me. It was fruitless to deny that the air was still. That was when I noticed the shadows were not just moving, they were probing. Jolting upright, I reached for my flashlight, my hands trembling. With bated breath, I flicked it on. The shadows fled, vanishing as if they had never existed. Relieved for a moment, I watched my surroundings. Nothing seemed there, only the echo of my own growing fear. But as I turned off the light, a dreadful realization hit me as the shadows returned, creeping back along the tent walls, elegant and sinister, like fingers gently caressing the surface. Then the ground heaved beneath me, an unsettling pulse stirred directly below. My heartbeat thumped against my chest as I directed my light to the tent floor. I gasped at the sight before me. Blades of that ethereal, vivid grass poked through the material of my tent, writhing in grotesque unison. They were not merely plants, they were alive, searching for real flesh. I scrambled, panic setting in. With frantic fingers, I unzipped the tent, not caring about my belongings or what might lie beneath. The moment the flap opened, I tumbled forward into the clearing, every instinct screaming to escape. I swung the light around to find the circle of trees. The sanctuary I thought I had found had turned into an arena for something hungry. The ground itself swelled and contorted as dark, sinewy tendrils danced from the very earth, wrapping around my tent, pulling it down until it buckled under the weight. Roots surged forth, twisted and pulsing, as if enticing me with their dark energy, feasting on the fabric of my campsite. Frozen in terror, it dawned on me I was not merely camping. I was trapped in a living entity, ensnared within its grasp. The roots twisted tighter around my tent, a maw that sought to consume me alive. Pure, unadulterated fear shot through me, and without a second thought, I sprinted for the path that would lead me to safety. My feet raced over the ground, which seemed to claw at me with each desperate step, as if trying to pull me back into the very earth that had turned against me. I blurred through the darkness, a heartbeat pounding against the rush of terror behind me, my only thought to escape. Every gulp of air was laced with adrenaline as I barreled through the shadows, darting between the trunks of ancient trees. Everything around me, every sound, every shadow was a living nightmare, nothing but reminders of the terror that lurked behind me, slavering, waiting for me to falter. Finally, amid the chaos, the glow of my car's headlights broke through the trees like a beacon of hope. The familiar shape of my vehicle became the only thing that mattered. I flung myself there, fumbling with the keys, my hands slick with sweat and trembling wildly. The engine roared to life, a symphony of mechanical safety in the silence of the night. I was free. I sped away from the park, the trees a blur of suffocating darkness. As dawn broke over the horizon, I could hardly breathe. I found myself in a cheap motel far from the forest, though the horror had wrapped around me like a cloak, refusing to let go. Even when I lie down to rest, my mind conjures the images of that place. The creeping grass, the pulsing roots, how they came to life as I cowered, thinking myself safe. I close my eyes, and it is all I can see, that unnatural circle, where nature hid its insatiable hunger, waiting for the next lost soul to wander into its deceptive embrace. Perhaps it is a curse to know what lies beneath such beauty, but as long as I carry this knowledge, I will never be the same. My adventure into the woods was supposed to be an escape, but instead, it has become a reminder. The forest may be a place of peace, but it can also be a predator in disguise, and I foolishly camped on its tongue.